So I guess awareness is cultivating a state of awareness by slowing down, taking in your surroundings, seeing what you're experiencing, and then taking an action from there. And you'd probably be quite surprised how well you can handle the situation when you've primed yourself.
This a success off another breath. This the first step in searching to be nothing less than be the best in what you do to prove their strength in being you. Learn so much in chasing dreams that I never would in school.
And what's going on, guys? Kieran Headley here from the Pocket Coach podcast, the place where we bring mental health and performance together through the lens of both spirituality and science, which is always a very, very exciting thing. And we always have either doctors or specialists or just absolutely incredible people that have amazing stories behind them on the podcast. And today I actually have someone that really is a mixture of many of those, which Jock Barnes Graham in front of me over here, ex-cage fighter, you hear me, ex-cage fighter, now Yogi, and runs a spiritual festival called Revive Festival, brand new festival which ran this year, which this guy's work ethic is honestly has no bounds. It's honestly really inspiring for me to observe the way that he's building this community of his. And this incredible festival will be running very successfully once again early next year. I believe the 3rd to the 6th. Is that correct, of January?
6th to the
6th to the 9th,
2022.
right, okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And him and his brother have actually gone and co-created this fantastic festival. And I'm so passionate about speaking about on this podcast alongside his journey from a cage fighter, living a life that was, from what you've shared with me, quite egoic in a ways, and then transforming that into this really beautiful and healthy way of cultivating this beautiful balance and healthy masculinity within, and the way that you've created this really beautiful, passionate, and joyful way of life. And that's what I'm really excited to dive into with you today and really share a bit about your story with the audience, about why we went from cage fighter to Yogi. It's a transformation that we don't really hear about too much, and also what it is that you've shifted and changed in order to create so much more joy and so much more health in your life. And so I'm so excited because there's so many ways and that we can sort of take this talk. So that's why I'm going to actually leave it quite open-ended, and I'm going to dive in straight away first before we even go anywhere, because that's such an interesting point, is why the heck did you go from cage fighter to Yogi? Talk to us about that, brother.
Yeah, good question, man. First of all, thank you so much, Keza, for having me here, bro. So nice to be here, and really love the mahi you're doing as well, man.
Thank
to
you,
share
bro.
the love and knowledge from people all around Aotearoa, So I'm really stoked to see that happen. And thank you for the wonderful introduction. For me, I've had a bit of a path that has changed significantly regularly. I'm a Gemini. Apparently a Gemini changes regularly. I don't really follow those star signs, but apparently it's aligned.
I hear that about Aquarius as well, so that's right.
Yeah, maybe we should look into it and listen more. I might get something out of it. I grew up on a farm, running free, really developed a strong connection with nature because of that. And, I became quite just like strengthened from growing up on a farm and learning to use my own body and my own ways of having fun and living out in the wild, which kind of, I guess, built a bit of resilience. And also a bit of fight, because we used to run across the farm and we used to hunt and fish and whatever and camp and stuff, And, I was bullied quite a lot as a child, at primary school, and that caused a bit of anger, quite a lot of anger within me, and that became a coping mechanism, to protect myself naturally. And so this anger would often come out quite often, and after a few years of that anger being quite prominent, I decided to take a really good look at it and think, wow, how can I channel this anger instead of it being damaging to others? How can I damage something that's not a human, So I went to the boxing bag, and it was a really great way in a form of a release to actually allow the anger to come up, which I'll get to later, because it's really important to feel these emotions that you're having, good or bad, gross or subtle, pleasant or unpleasant. And it allowed them to come up, and then therefore eventually let go of that, and I was doing that through fighting, hitting the bag, training myself to the bone. I was training 4 times a week for 3 to 3.5 hours. I was definitely pushing myself to the limit. However, I was at my peak. So for me, it wasn't only feeling and then releasing my anger, but it was also empowering me too. So it was like a double whammy, you know. And you know, I trained for about 6 months until I had my first fight, and it was straight into the cage. No pads, just those thin gloves, you know, they're like 4 mil gloves, man. And
wow,
yeah, people thought I was crazy. I guess I was, and still can be. But getting into the cage, it wasn't for me, you know. I had the fight and luckily won. I was getting absolutely hammered in the first few rounds until I took him to the ground, and my ground game was a little bit better than him. But when I started damaging somebody, you know, in the cage, I was like, that was not the purpose of me finding the fighting. The purpose for me joining MMA was to actually stop hurting people with my anger, you know. So it just felt wrong. So obviously I, you know, survived the fight as much as I didn't want to be there. One, because I was hurting someone, and two, because it sucked. Like after the first couple rounds, man, you are burnt out and you have to go in for another brawl, and this person wants to absolutely cripple you. It sucks. And that's not me, you know. I'm very much a caring guy, you know. I love people, I love life, and I don't want to hurt people. So once the fight was done, I took another look at MMA, and I was like, okay, I can keep training and, you know, be at my peak and use it as a release for anger, but I can also find something else that is still a mode of a release. And then I found yoga. And it was quite a big jump, you know, to go from something that's so yang, you know, so fire, so fight enthused, to something that's so much more yin, feminine based, you know. It was very much perceived feminine back then and still is. However, you know, it was a part of our gym membership, so I decided to start that. And, you know, I was always open to trying new things. And it was a very egoic entrance into yoga for me. It was because I was like, oh, fuck yeah, you can do handstands, you can do like bends and like twists, so hell yeah. And so I started yoga, loved it, but it got every injury under the sun. Because I was like, oh, I'm going to do this to, you know, reach my peak performance, and that's what I was used to with the fighting, trying to find my absolute peak. And then after getting those injuries, I took another look at myself, and I was like, what are you doing this for? You know, what's the reason behind this? And so I slowed down, I pulled back, and just started doing the absolute fundamental foundation of yoga, and that's the subtle movements, and just to promote that blood flow, to create silence in the mind, or quiet in the mind, and you know, movement, which just shifts energy in the body, and that energy can also be in the form of emotion. So I could feel again my anger coming up through this movement. And because you're generally quite calm and in that flow state in yoga, you can see it eye to eye. You can like sleep with your fear, you know, you can sleep with your anger and then let it go by remaining equanimous, you know. And that's part of the teachings of yoga, is like, can you flow, allow things to come and go without trying to change them or judge them. It's simply just feel. And when you feel and acknowledge that that is a part of being human, you can then let it go, and it kind of happens naturally.
Yeah, I love that. And what you shared there, so you used a few beautiful key words that I feel there will be some confusion with people listening. I know for myself there was a big one. I know for yourself at one point there was as well, right? With the concept of let it flow. What do you mean by let it flow? Because I know that like when I talk about that on social media, I hear people saying, what do you mean by that? Like, how do you let it flow? Like the concept of the understanding of letting it flow is just not quite really resonating. Sure. And so what do you mean by let it flow, and what are the benefits of that?
Yeah, good question. You mean the flow state?
Just in general, in terms of when things come up, you mentioned.
Gotcha.
Yeah. When things come up, let it flow.
Yeah, so when I say let it flow, I mean let it come up without trying to resist it, without trying to forget about it, without trying to avoid it. Instead of aversion, seek collaboration, you know. When something arises, let it come up, and if you can let it come up, it flows naturally. However, if you push it under, it actually gets stored as a blockage in the body in the form of energy or something heavy. So I think acceptance and understanding of what is arising as part of being human, that should naturally allow it to just come up and then disappear, and that is the flow. The arise and fall is the flow, and that is the flow of nature. It is to say that each and every sensation or experience will come and eventually pass. And it's how you look at it which determines the flow of that arising form. So if you look at it in a way of, I'm angry, I shouldn't be angry, come on, let's be happy. It's not going to flow. It's going to come up, but it's going to stay in, you know? Because when you don't accept it, you can't let it go. You have to soften into the experience. And what I mean by soften into the experience is relax your body so that you can feel that anger. And anger is a very powerful emotion. So it's no wonder why people try and push it under. But one, it's trying to tell you something. It's a natural, a human emotion to tell you that something is important. And two, what was my second? It was in my head that popped out. Damn it, I'm angry. I shouldn't be angry. But yeah, you know, it's a powerful emotion, and you got to try your best to just accept it and see it eye to eye. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Absolutely, brother. Yeah, I mean, like when anger's flowed in my past, I'll be angry about the anger.
Yeah.
When anxiety's flowed in my past, I'll be anxious about the anxiety. When depression's flowed, I'll be depressed about the depression. Exactly. It's a compounding effect of resisting whatever it is that I'm experiencing. And to your point, that whole concept of letting it flow, letting it arise, whatever feeling or sensation, even if I'm not in touch with the feeling itself, right? I know it will produce some sort of sensation or tension in my system. So like that tension in the traps or in the stomach, like tightness in the stomach, closing in the throat, acknowledging that, okay, I can relax that, and actually letting that flow, and letting it move and letting it shift and unblock. And yeah, man, that's been so game changing for me. But there was a time, man, when that concept was, Vipassana has massively helped with that.
Oh yeah,
for me.
Same here.
Yeah, hugely. Yeah, like being able to tune into that, where that's blocked.
Starts with the awareness,
Totally.
First, being aware of what you're experiencing.
Yeah,
and then you go from there.
So that's exactly what I was going to get to, actually, brother. Because so in order to build awareness, what does that take? How does one become more aware of what's going on within their system, in terms of feelings, sensations? How does one adopt that awareness so they become more aware before it creates a reaction? So that they can tap in early before the reactions occurred, so they can shift it.
Love that. Yeah. Often this one can be quite controversial. Awareness and meditation and spirituality can be perceived quite differently depending on the individual, but this is my understanding of it. Awareness for me is first slowing down, and giving your mind and body space to process whatever you're experiencing. Because, for example, if I am trying to deal with some sort of interaction or experience, but I'm like, coffee, tea, cleaning the ground, feeding the cat, it's not going to be possible, man. Like, we can't multitask and perform at our best. So I think for me, the most important thing is first just slowing down. Take a breath. And it gives you time to acknowledge what you're actually experiencing. I love just taking a breath like that, and it's it's such a cliche, take a breath, but it works, man. That's why it's a cliche. It's cliche and for a reason. Totally. And then you can see what you're experiencing as it is, and then awareness, to build awareness in that given moment. Say if you've encountered a stressful situation with your boss because you fucked up at work. We allowed to say
every now and again is okay.
It's only out of emphasis.
I'll accept
that. Thanks, man. Still be my friend. I appreciate that. What was I going to say? Yeah. So say if you encountered a stressful situation with your boss because you messed up at work, and where was I going with this?
So awareness.
Yeah. So to build awareness is to first just acknowledge what has happened, accept that, and just take a moment to really take in your surroundings, listen to whatever sounds you can hear, and then just approach it from a place of calm and ease, without trying to trying not to stress, trying not to respond from a state of unsettledness, or heightened energy. It's just that take that breath, slow down, see the situation as it is, and act upon it from that new state that you've cultivated. So I guess awareness is cultivating a state of awareness by slowing down, taking in your surroundings, seeing what you're experiencing, and then taking an action from there. And you'd probably be quite surprised how well you can handle the situation when you've primed yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's so on point, brother. Yeah, I know that's definitely a big thing that I know has brought up a lot of resistance for me in the past, and does bring up a lot of resistance with people that I work with, which is the concept of actually learning to come to a place of quote unquote acceptance of whatever it is that's there, rather than trying to reject it. And I mean, why would I accept it? Like it hurts, it sucks. Like why would I do that? That's suffering. Why would I like? And there's also as well the concept that acceptance means becoming a doormat.
Yeah,
it does not, right?
Absolutely.
It's gotten, they're actually two completely separate things and related to two completely separate things. One doesn't equal the other, right? Yeah. So do you mind just touching on that, the difference between acceptance and also this concept of being a doormat?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, acceptance is understanding what the situation is and allowing that to come up without pushing it under. However, allowing it to come up doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have the right to either challenge it or try and figure out why it has happened and change it if you think it is necessary within you, And what may be understandably accepting for one person is probably the opposite for the other person.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just having faith in your beliefs, your knowledge on the situation, accepting that it has happened.
Yeah.
And you can think you're accepting by pushing it under and moving on, but often accepting is seeing this situation eye to eye and saying, how can we diffuse this situation if it needs diffusing? Or even if it's a positive connotation, how can we make use of this positive experience we're having now? And I'm going to accept that this is a rise, it's the same thing. It can be positive or negative. And now we're going to act on it from a state of awareness.
I feel that. The metaphor I love is, if there was a fire in my kitchen, if I don't accept the fact that there's a fire in the kitchen, right? I'm like, no, there's no fire. No, this doesn't exist. This isn't happening, right? What's going to happen?
Starving.
I'm dead.
yeah.
Well,
You either die or you die from one of the two.
Exactly. But otherwise, if I completely accept and acknowledge, okay, well, there's a fire in my kitchen. What can I do about it? Well, okay, it's probably too big for me to do anything about it, or leave the house, call 111. Whatever country you're in or whatever, call the fire brigade. But ultimately, the most conscious action can be taken only from a place of acceptance, right? If you agree on that, I mean, I definitely found that in the past, when I've reacted to situations or pushed them under, I haven't been able to do anything about them, and eventually, like the fire, it just builds and builds and builds because nothing's done about it until it burns me down, and comes and gets me, right?
It's early, eh?
Yeah, totally. While the fire's small,
totally.
Yeah, and they can actually put it out. But that's the same with anxiety or depression or just anything, right? I mean, it does start small like a seed, and it's often ignored, pushed under, and it just amplifies, builds with builds, and then something even unrelated just triggers, boom, and it comes out there, or it comes out here. And
that would obviously build resistance within you, because the problem is eventually getting bigger and bigger. When you push something aside, often for me personally, if I push something under, it's in the back of my mind. And that'll keep me awake.
Totally. Totally. So what I'd love to ask about is, as one, builds more awareness. Okay, they're aware now that maybe anxiety is rising, or maybe depression is rising, or maybe anger is rising, or frustration, or whatever that might be. And they're noticing they're being a little bit more short with people. They're noticing they're finding they're running around a bit more. And they're like, okay, well, I've become a little bit more aware. Okay, I've paused, I've taken a breath, I've noticed what's going on within me, this anxiety, this depression, whatever that is. What do they do from there?
That can be a hard one, depending on how intense the emotion is. Often if it's really intense, my first thought is to remove yourself from the situation equanimously if you can. So
first explain equanimously.
Equanimously is to say, if you are equanimous to something or someone, you are not identifying yourself with that something or someone or whatever they're experiencing. You are not judging them. You're not trying to change them or it. You're not defining yourself by them or their emotions. That's equanimous. So that can help you make a point from only within what you are feeling and experiencing and thinking. If you are not equanimous to something or someone, your discussion or your point or whatever you're trying to say will be influenced by what you are not remaining equanimous to. So it's really important to just like remain neutral and say, you have your point, I have my point. And this is what I'm going to say from my state of equanimity.
Not out of reaction, but out of response, right?
Yeah, because often reaction is out of what external forces or people create within you, is my understanding.
Oh, yeah. I mean, reaction is to react out something.
Yeah, totally.
So
makes sense,
basically redoing or reusing old patterns, old conditioning. So that's not really new stuff, is it?
Yeah.
So, I can't create a new result with old thoughts.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's breaking those old habit patterns and saying, actually, what am I feeling right now? And what have I learned in the past that I can use now? You know,
Yes.
What have I learned from previously not being equanimous or reacting? Yeah.
Yes. So to that point, right? So okay, they've identified the thing, right? The intense experience. So remove self from situation if it's intense.
Yeah.
While remaining equanimous. What then?
How about communication? Maybe.
Yeah.
Communicate if it's a person and that person can hear you. You know, maybe you're not speaking to a tree. Maybe just saying,
that's
hey,
what Jock does, guys. Doesn't mean you have to do it.
I'm a yogi, right? That's what I do. I speak to trees. Yeah, I guess.
So you're speaking to a tree when I got here, bro.
I was taking in all of the corridor from the trees down there. They had lots to share. That's why I'm full of wisdom right now, you know.
For those that aren't Kiwi, corridor means conversation.
Yes,
yeah.
corridor, conversation in Te Reo Māori. So if you can communicate what you're feeling with the person, I feel like communication's a huge factor for relationships or any situation, you know. And communication then brings on understanding. So if you are experiencing an emotional sensation, maybe you might like to say, hey, man, like I'm angry at the moment. You know, this has brought up a lot of anxiety within me. Either then they will meet you and say, how can I help you with that? Or then you could say, because of this anger or anxiety or whatever emotion, I'm going to need to come back to you, you know, and take another route later on.
That authenticity is powerful.
It is, man. And inauthenticity like that is vulnerability.
Yeah.
So there's aversion towards that too.
Totally.
I believe, and I've learned that from Vipassana as well. Like when you sit for a long period of time, a lot comes up.
Oh, wow,
and we naturally want to avoid it and get up and move, you know.
Totally.
But you got to sit there.
Yeah,
you know?
sit through it.
So maybe it is meeting this situation eye to eye and actually saying, yeah, I'm anxious and I'm angry, but how can we diffuse this now that you know that I'm angry and that we both are wanting to work it out? And so, you know, building awareness in that very situation. But, you know, it's hard to act when your emotions are strong.
Oh, man.
It's so hard, isn't it?
So
like, because based on a kid who used to get angry, and I would constantly react from those emotions. And that reaction was not a way that I want to act in this life. So I think first, detaching yourself from that emotion, that is remaining equanimous. So do not identify yourself.
Yeah. So how do they not identify? How do they detach from the emotion?
Yeah. So it's challenging, but, you know, first allowing it to come up. So the allowing would probably be communicating, hey, I'm angry.
Yeah.
Just
but also as well, it's not like, hey, I'm angry, right?
Yeah,
it's
totally.
Like, hey,
you know?
just letting you know I actually feel quite angry right now.
Yeah, and the way in which you said that now, bro, is letting me know that you are not channeling the anger into your physical body in your conversation. Yeah. It's just an emotion. Yeah. And it's really important to acknowledge that we are not our emotions. And this is quite the hard thing to wrap our heads around.
It is, yeah. We
are not our emotions. We are not our thoughts. They come and go naturally. We cannot control them. What we can control is our response to them. So I think if you're in a situation and anger arises, first allow it to come in, like we said before. Take a breath, feel it, don't push it under. Obviously, you're going to want to be angry and like fight and punch walls and stuff, you know, maybe. But I think, you know, remaining relaxed in the body, allowing the sensation to come up. Take a breath or two. That often helps reduce the stress. And then just try and make the point or conversation from a place of calm, from ease, you know, from the deep knowledge that you have, and pause, you know. I find when I'm angry, I'm like, and there's no pause, there's no breath. Yeah. You know, so I think if you just take it slow, remain aware of the situation, take a couple deep breaths, and speak slowly, relax your body. That should enable the release of that emotion that arises, hopefully.
Oh man, I so feel that. The relaxing the body, and especially the deep breath into the lower belly, that's been huge for me, when resistance is there. Or when frustration is there, being able to actually expand into that space.
We breathe the top part of our lungs regularly, let alone when we're angry. It's probably like the top millimeters. People hyperventilate. That's the anger response. But a deep breath into the belly. Huge. It just, like, we all know how powerful a breath is to calm the mind, the nervous system.
And in doing so, I mean, the ultimate goal is to create a situation where the brain is starting to associate this new environment of experiencing a little bit more calmness rather than reactiveness in a situation that was previously reacted to. Now the brain's starting to identify, oh wow, it can still be safe even when you're calm. It can still be safe even when you take a deep breath and you slow down. Nothing bad is actually going to happen from slowing down. Now we're identifying the slowness and the openness and the calmness to a space where there's going to be no negative consequence from doing so. In fact, it's going to unveil probably a more positive consequence, right, from those experiences. That's definitely been a big part for myself, brother, is learning from those experiences where, oh wow, I was actually able to maintain calmness in that. That's a massive win. Wow, awesome.
And it gives you confidence, right? Once you've done it once, you are more familiar with it. You're more likely to be able to do it again. So
it becomes more of a pattern, and then it becomes easier and easier from there. Totally.
Absolutely. So maybe there's resistance towards first trying to remain calm in a stressful situation if you haven't before. So it's going to take a bit more mind power, a bit more presence, a bit more trust that you can remain calm. Just take your time, slow down.
Yes, I love that. So awareness. Okay, I'm feeling angry. If it's too intense, remove self from situation. So the reactive, I feel that. I resonate with that as well.
Although that can be very hard in the heat of a moment.
Totally. Because I want to fix it right now.
And someone's like, actually, where are you going? You can't leave now. But it's like, if I stay, you're going to be sorry.
I got it. Bad bitch kids out right now, so you better watch out. That's actually been something I've been able to, fortunately, be able to use in a past relationship, was exactly that. But at the same time as well, I've been on the opposite in past relationships where I haven't even been aware that I've been in that state. I've been in a fuming state of like just frustration of the fact that, like, why can't you see what I'm saying? Why can't you hear what I'm saying? Like, that's really deep sense of frustration that was there. And I definitely realized that, first of all, I wasn't hearing myself, so that was a big one. But also as well, I wasn't fixing the situation any quicker. In fact, I was actually taking a lot longer to fix it.
Stoking the fire.
Totally. I was making the other person even more reactive. So calmly being like, hey, I'm just letting you know exactly what you shared before, like, hey, just letting you know, I actually feel quite frustrated right now. I just need to take a bit of time, if that's okay. And that, if it's okay, has been a big thing for me. Actually just asking them in the form of an ask, not
giving
a statement
them the
of
right
like,
of
hey, I need space. Right? That's like that's quite going to cause reaction in the person, right?
It's quite you impress something on them, eh? Instead, you give them the space to have a say in this matter too. Communication again, eh? I think that's a nice tool for communication, is first stating your belief or your action, and then giving them the space to have a say in that.
And I really doubt it's gonna be a no, right?
Honesty, man. Like, stone cold honesty in the best of times helps a lot, because you're not lying, and people can feel when you're truthful, and then they'll be like, okay, cool, come back later, and then we can deal with it.
I love that we've been touching on this topic of anger, because I haven't had an opportunity of exploring the topic of anger with
really?
people yet.
Interesting. Yeah, man.
Sort of depth
you come
really
to the
beautiful.
right guy.
Yeah, brother. Man. I love that.
It definitely influenced my life significantly. I still feel it come up now, but I guess now I'm able to manage it a lot better.
I'd even call it less management, more freedom, right? Because it's more like you're more like observing it, noticing it, and choosing the way that you're approaching.
It doesn't. I don't identify myself with it anymore, and that is freeing. That's liberating.
That's so incredible. Oh, that's so beautiful, brother. So, what I'd love, and we'll dive more into like sort of strategies, techniques, tools, and that sort of thing in a second. But I'd really like to ask: was there a specific moment or was it actually the fight itself that led to you recognizing that you needed to do something with this anger.
Mm.
You needed to actually start to shift how you're approaching this anger.
Yeah.
Like, was there a moment, was there a dark situation or anything like that for you that triggered that?
Yeah, there's been a couple. One was definitely the fight.
That was quite dark for you, was it?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah. The start of it, being in that cage with that guy and seeing my anger come out in the form of hurting somebody else.
Wow,
I was like,
yeah.
nah, I got to change this.
Yeah.
And then after that, I had a relationship with a beautiful wahine. And, anger came up a bit in that relationship as well. And I could see that hurt her too. And I was like, nah, man, like, I don't want to hurt her. I don't want to hurt anybody. So over the course of a few experiences, I had seen my anger affect people, impact others. Wow. And, being the kind and caring person I am, I thought, okay, I got to do something about this. Because it wasn't me. It was my anger that created that. It wasn't intentional. Like, I didn't want to hurt them. Yeah. Like, even I'd just get angry at a situation and my girlfriend would get hurt from the energy of my anger, It's because I guess maybe that's triggered something within her in the past. So, yeah. It's just, I'd say the fight and the relationship, which definitely defined how powerful the anger had been and that I really wanted to make a change. And so I was really lucky to have these modes of outlets to start working on, seeing the anger as an extension of just my mind, and then eventually not identifying myself.
Yeah, and that was through the path of yoga.
Yoga, man. Yeah. Yoga, Vipassana, and some really beautiful friends that I have, and actually just talking to them about it.
Yeah, speak to us about that, because there's I know, especially here in New Zealand, and I know massively in other areas of the world as well, there's a big resistance, not just with guys, with girls as well, about speaking and sharing feelings in general, struggles, challenges, and actually raising them to the surface and having conversations with mates about them. Because there's this concept of I'm being a burden. There's this concept of, they wouldn't want to hang out with me if I speak about that stuff.
Exactly. First you got to build the element of trust within your friendship or relationship that you're going to be talking about this stuff with. And I'm really fortunate enough to have friends who I talk about absolutely anything with, pretty much, man.
So how does one come to that?
I mean, depending on the person, you can either feel it straight away, you can I trust this person, I really do. And the conversation that you have is generally quite deep. And by deep, I mean, you talk about anything and things that aren't often spoken about with people that maybe you don't trust, or maybe things you don't speak about that society has programmed you to think that are taboo, So I think just either feeling into the situation and just trusting in your intuition that this person you can trust, or having experiences together, like things that are going to build trust between you and the other person. Like I went on this adventure with my friend Jasper, and it was actually in Matatā on the coast, and we went down by the beach and we were just chilling out. This was on the way home to Gisborne, and we had hung out for a while. We were still relatively early in our brotherhood, and we thought, it's going to be a beautiful sunset. Should we climb up the cliffs? And the cliffs are like sheer cliff faces, but there's only one small narrow cavity that you can go up. And we were so excited about going to see this amazing sunset and go into this untouched land overhead that we kind of ran up this channel without remembering where we went, And anyway, just to fast track it, because it is a long story, we ran right up to the top, got a beautiful sunset, and the sun was going down. We're like, oh, it's a bit dark. We should get back. So we start jogging back, and by the time we get back to the tree line, it's dark. Yeah. And we have a headlight, but the headlight's slowly dying, of course. And luckily it's slightly moony night, so it's kind of bright, but definitely dark as well. And so we get to the tree line and we start trying to find our way down. And we know there's a cliff there. And every now and then we come to the cliff edge and we're like, that's definitely not the place. And then eventually we get to this point that we thought was the place. And then we heard this trickling sound and we were like, oh, it sounds like a stream. But we didn't cross a stream. So I dislodge a rock and it's like, doo-dum, doom, doom. Whoa. Jasper, go back. So super, super big cliff there, And we come back to the cliff and we attach it. At this point we're hanging onto trees, hanging onto the cliff. And we turn off the headlight, and then all these glowworms come out, and we just slow down. We're like, brother, either we're going to sleep up here or we're going to work together and find our way out of here, And eventually we worked together, man. We were going back and forward. Like, this was over the course of like an hour and a half.
Whoa.
And we were in like a 50-meter radius, not even that, you know. And eventually, you know, through working together and trusting in each other's instinct, we found our way down.
Wow.
And after that, I could really feel that our brotherhood was just so much more strong and powerful, you know. And so what I would recommend to those of you who want to build relationships that you can communicate about anything is go on adventures together.
Oh, yeah.
Embrace discomfort together. Go jump in the cold ocean like you and I did, Keza, you know, and you see your friend in their most vulnerable or most heightened state. And that is, you see more of them, and that builds strength, that builds a really good relationship, you know. And then the conversations, the hard conversations come thereafter, because you're used to seeing each other in these unusual or abnormal states. And a hard conversation is unusual. It doesn't feel right. It's challenging. It's challenging like navigating a cliff at night. It's challenging like jumping in the cold water. So yeah, go out there, embrace discomfort with your friends, and then the conversations will follow thereafter.
I love that, brother. That's really beautifully shared. Thank you. What has been your darkest time?
It's a strong question. I've done a lot of things in my life that I'm not happy of, man. You know, I'm going to be straight up here. My darkest time.
And the reason why I asked this, brother, just briefly before you share, is because you hold yourself so beautifully. You have such a big love behind yourself, and it's clear that it flows through you as well. You've got such a big love for life, and I think what's beautiful about the opportunity on this podcast is we get to delve deep into that stuff because we've got the time to talk about it. So I can imagine, firstly, people usually see people that are holding themselves strongly, that have this big love and big heart, as people that have always had that, you know, as people that have always been able to navigate things very easily. Like, I mean, yeah, you know, that sort of thing, but it's not the case. No. Yeah. So I think that this is a beautiful opportunity for vulnerability, as well as beautiful opportunity as well for people to come to an understanding of what you've been able to do to come out of that space. Yeah. And to be able to shift that. Because at the end of the day, being able to hear stories like that is both inspiring but also practical as well. So, oh, well, maybe I can try that.
Yeah, it's a good question, and thank you for explaining it in a little more depth, because there are a few things that come up. A couple things are things that I've done in the past that I'm not happy of, and we all have them. We all make mistakes, you know, and based on those actions that I had taken, where I had been on thin ice and should have been in a lot of trouble,
right?
It encouraged me to make positive changes in my life so that I could avoid, you know, doing those sorts of things. And they're not hurting anybody or anything. It's just silly things when I was young, you know. But another thing that comes up is, you know, I've had a few partners in the past, but I had never been broken up with until as of kind of recently. You know?
Right.
And she broke up with me, and that hurt, man. I really liked her, you know, and it was a short relationship, but we fast-tracked it by doing a lot of deep experiences together, you know, like jumping in the cold water, catching sunrises, talking about the deep things. And that was so bittersweet to me. It was like a blessing and a curse, you know, because it hurt. And because of that, I was able to really open myself up to these deep and strong emotions. And that allowed me to be able to process, you know, any situation in life that facilitate or catalyzed deep emotions or brought up strong emotions. I was able to sit with them more, because during that breakup, I sat with it a lot. I sat with the sensations that came up, that hurt, the heart especially, the sadness. Courage, it was challenging, man. And there was one day that it was like pissing down with rain, and it was like horizontal rain because the winds were so high. And I was at my good buddy PJ's house, and he was just looking after me, bro, because she had just broken up with me. And it was like on winter, and I was like to PJ, hey, brother, you know, I've almost processed it all, but I need to go running in the hills. So I just got in my shorts and singlet and went running out in Devonport Hills, and I did some breath work. I sat by the ocean's edge where the wind was coming in, and just sat and felt it all come up, because there's no judgment from nature, you know. You can be there and not worry about other people or what they're thinking or whatever. You're just there with what you're experiencing, you know. And for me, that was a great opportunity to process that challenging part of my life. And it just gave me insight on, we must seek the modalities that allow us to feel things in life, or that allow us to grow in life. You know, that is the stillness, that is the breath work, that is the feeling. And yeah, I guess that was the darkest, but the most growth promoting as well. And that's quite common. I found all of the dark situations I've had in my life have promoted so much growth when I can actually allow them to come up and see them as they are and not try and forget about them. Yeah, so, you know, yes, my girlfriend broke up with me. I could have forgotten about it, but actually, you know, I allowed myself to feel it. It was like for a week and a half. Every day I would just, you know, sit and just feel. And that eventually allowed it to pass through that flow. And then I could just be a bit more free. Yeah. So, you know, seek adversity in life, you know. And adversity can be, it can be unintentional. It can be caused by somebody else. If that adversity is coming at you, see it, sleep with it, see it eye to eye and say, what are you trying to teach me? Because I could have cried and just crawled up and died in my bed, you know, but I was like, well, actually, what's this trying to teach me? That breakup is teaching me to be more of an empath, to feel more, to understand emotions more. And I thanked her, man. I was like, this sucked, but thank you, because you taught me so much about myself, you know?
Beautiful, brother. So beautiful.
Thanks, brother.
And you feel the, thank you for sharing that, brother. Yeah, honestly, I find that very inspiring. Like I know for myself as well, similar thing. When I went through a breakup, it would have been, last year. Like it was something that, although it was me initiating it, it still didn't feel any easier. It was something that I really had to feel into myself and create to actually even allow for me to even have the conversation, because I was so scared of having the conversation, even though I knew it was wrong. It was just not the right relationship. And I remember closing my eyes and just creating a space where I could actually see myself without it. That was hard, man. Like that, like even now it brings up like some sadness, because I still have some of that deep down within me that still like hasn't been fully released, you know. And I remember just closing my eyes and feeling into that, and it was hard. It was so there's so much resistance, yet what that gave me was the ability to actually allow the emotions to flow a little bit more, create a situation in my mind where I could actually start to see some safety and some clarity on the other side of that conversation. Was okay, I can breathe again. Okay, I see. Once I stayed with it for a little longer, and then the conversation was enabled. And at the end of the day, we were hurting each other, you know. So it definitely was something that was needed. But it's not an easy thing, those situations, brother.
It's not, you know. In any situation that is a dark time, often visualization helps, man. Seeing yourself after you have processed that situation. So it's like, okay, this dark time I'm having right now, it sucks, but I'm going to work through it. And say if I work through it and I can process it, how is it going to be on the other side of that brick wall? There's probably going to be a meadow, you know? And it's just, although that brick wall looks impenetrable, however you say that.
Well, impenetrable.
Yeah, that'll work. You know, there's always a way. You just gotta be with it, you know? Climb on over or punch on through.
Yeah, bro.
Depends if you're angry or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice, bro.
So, essentially, through these dark times, you've learned so much, you've grown so much, and I really enjoyed as well what you shared earlier around the fact that it's possible to learn something from anything and seek adversity as well, and that really is so key. I know for myself as well, in terms of the growth that I've created, is actually seeking things that do generate uncomfortability and fear within. It's like, oh, that feels scary. Great, I'm going to do it.
Builds resilience, makes you more grit, you know.
And that's the beautiful thing about the cold swims, right? It's like, I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, and then you feel amazing after.
Totally,
so you've broken through the brick wall, and there's the meadow, you know.
That's it, man. That's it. And it's this concept of top-down control that flows in all aspects of life. It's like when it's built in one area of life, it beautifully cross-pollinates into other areas as well, just organically. And it's totally something that can be built through moving through resistance of cold swims, not wanting to do the dishes and doing it anyway. And really resisting a specific conversation, but going for that conversation anyway, because you know it's going to serve both of you, and of course serve the future you. And that's such a big thing. I mean, at the end of the day, if I don't seek adversity, because so much of life does create adversity, I'm basically hiding away from life itself.
Yeah.
And that was something that I really had to come to understand fully for me to actually really connect with that concept, because I was a scared little boy, brother. I was a scared little boy. I'd hide away in my room, not want to, like, speak with people,
Yeah.
especially not wanting to speak with girls. Like, I was terrified
I
of
was
women,
the same,
brother.
man. Yeah, I was.
Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely really connecting with the concept of the fact that I really only have two choices when things arise. Is it going to make me more wounded, or is it going to make me more wise?
Yeah.
And coming to that understanding and truly really connecting with the fact that it is possible to become more wise and learn from just about literally anything. That's where life really starts, doesn't it?
Yeah, love that, man. Because often there's a lot of resistance towards what's worth doing.
Oh, yeah.
And that is embracing adversity. So I feel like if you can step back a bit, it's actually, can you overcome resistance? And that is just taking that first step out that door, man. That first movement which puts that flow in motion. And then you can just see it. It's like going for a run. You are on the couch, and it's really hard to get from the couch out the door. Once you get out the door, it's like, oh, this feels good, and there's the growth.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Resistance will cripple you if you let it, But if you cripple resistance, there's so much growth on the other side. Yeah. Cheers, bro.
What's been your biggest lesson?
Biggest lesson. Ooh. Probably learned from my brother, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. My brother and I have an amazing relationship, but we have our ups and downs, as brothers
siblings.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Sam has always taught me how to be humble. I was quite selfish back in the day, not gonna lie.
Talk to us about that a little bit. What do you mean?
I thought a lot about me, and most of my decisions were made with the mindset of, like, how can I make my life better? And often it would be disregarding someone else, or avoiding some sort of situation so that I could, be comfortable within myself, So yeah, selfish. Didn't really think about. I did think about other people's situations a bit, but still, I was quite selfish.
Yeah, I was too, brother.
Yeah. So, yeah, my brother's always been very humble, and he's always been the provider in the family. His love language, man, is acts of service.
Hey.
Like, if you do something for him, like, he's so stoked, and he does that for the family, because generally you do what your love language is, And so, yeah, the biggest lesson is just being humble and having care and providing for others, because when you give and serve in this life, you're not only providing value to others, but the value comes back tenfold. You don't expect it comes back. Like, you don't need to expect, it just does. So yeah, Sam's taught me a lot about having love for other people, having love and care, and just being humble while doing things. Like, he's also been very goal driven and has huge like dreams, but he does them. At first, I'm the one to be like, oh, no, man, I probably can't,
True.
But he crushed them. And so he's taught me to, go big with snowboarding, or, he was a very big pillar in starting this festival. And I was like, whoa, shit, it's going to be hard, man. But he's always been like, we got this, man, and he's done that while remaining humble, really humble. And I love that, man, because you can achieve a lot of things in this life and let it go to your head, and that creates selflessness or selfishness, and power hungry and whatever. But yeah, to remain humble is to remain kind and loving and driven with your mission, and not worrying about trying to be the best. It's just like, this is the mission.
That's a choice, isn't it?
It is a choice.
Yeah, it's
really
a choice
is.
to remain humble. Yeah. So, like, what are certain things that you've done to actually bring through more of that humble nature and less of that selfish nature, if you will? Actually, one of my mentors said something really beautifully, and he said, half of suffering stops when others become a priority.
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm
exactly
like,
how
that was just because it's no longer the strong seriousness about, I need to be here, I need to be doing this.
Because then you have expectations,
totally.
and then you regularly fall from grace. It's like, oh man, I'm gonna disregard this person so that I can be happy, but then the situation isn't what you expected, and then you're not happy. I really resonate with what your mentor said there, and for me, it's been the yoga, because as an instructor, you are providing a platform for people to come and have their best experience as possible. So for me, yoga has been a big healing modality for those who attend. I can see that, like, because it's been healing for me too. So yeah, to be able to guide people through a yoga flow that then allows them to find healing within themselves, that's encouraged me to be more humble, and just acknowledge others a lot more. And a lot of my actions now come out of the thought of other people. Yeah, the selfishness still comes up every now and then. It's all part of it,
Yeah.
It's just first catching that and being actually like, what does this other person feel? And through yoga, it's encouraged me to be an empath, so that I'm more likely to think about others' feelings and situations.
That's beautiful, brother. Yeah. So this amazing journey that you're on has then led you to, of course, doing this festival. So of course you mentioned your brother was a big inspiration for it. What do you feel has enabled you as well? Because that aside, at the end of the day, it's still needed to be a self-made decision whether or not you went forward with it or not. Yeah. So it's not like, you held a gun to your head or something like that.
Yeah.
Come on, bro. We're doing this.
We're doing this wellness festival, or else. Isn't it a bit backwards? It's a bit contradicting.
Yeah. So what I'd love to ask is, coming from a place where there was this angry version of self, selfishness, this I-ness, constantly focused on that, coming to a place where it was more inclusive, more we, and more humble, more loving, more kind, yet as well confident. Speak on that. You've been confident enough to step forward into something that you're wanting to do.
A little bit of stupidity as well.
Okay, talk
Craziness.
About that.
But yeah, man, what you just mentioned there about the love and the like bringing people together, and just that community, that's what encouraged me to do it and step into it, because it was fueling that humbleness even more, and I'm very passionate about bringing people together in a place of non-judgment, in a place of personal growth and inspiration, because I know how much can come of that. Even on a smaller scale with like friends of mine, so much growth comes out of it when we come together in that sort of space. So yeah, the idea that there was going to be a huge opportunity for people to come and grow together and build a strong community got me pumped on that, man, because I'm like, our community needs this. At the moment in our current climate, people, like, we have the highest suicide rate in the world in New Zealand, man, and people are hurting, and they need a place where they can come and process that and find others on a similar path, or others who can help. And that's what our Revive platform is all about. We're providing a platform for people to come into a space and either connect with others who are unified in their enthusiasm for growth, or others who are struggling as well, because you're not the only one. When you're struggling in life, it's so common for others to be experiencing that struggle too. It's just we don't speak about it.
Yes.
Revive is a non-judgmental space. We really emphasize that because we want people to come in and not be judged when they share their vulnerabilities, because it's not until you share your vulnerability that you can then let go of that and grow out of that. So the idea of that in my head, bro, knowing that on a grand scale there's an opportunity for people to experience that growth out of either darkness or even just more growth out of a great life already, got me really excited. Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. I love that. Yeah. If you were to look back at your old version of self, say your 19, 20-year-old self, one I'm assuming was probably still in anger and and ego. What would you say to him?
Well, at that time he was running a similar gathering. Well, not a similar gathering, a similar size gathering, but completely other end of the spectrum. Yeah. This was a campground that we ran called Unagi, which means fried eel in Japanese. Have no idea why.
Wait, what? What does it mean?
It means fried eel in Japanese. Unagi.
Yeah, you can get the unagi sushi.
Yeah, it's quite common around here. I still haven't tried it.
Oh, really?
Maybe we should go get it together.
Yeah, maybe we should.
Just one last let go of that. See the unagi eye to eye, Anyway, so I was running this party, and it was hectic, man. Like, there were drugs, there were alcohol. It's what I was into back then.
Very opposite.
It's so opposite, man. Like, that is literally
so
the end of the spectrum, and the feelings I have gotten from Revive as opposed to the ones at that campground are like love, support, inspiration, reward, satisfaction, enthusiasm, sustainability of health and wellness. So if I could go back and tell him, I'd just be like, what you're doing right now, keep doing it. Just observe it and see what happens to you when you have this sort of experience, and then see what it's going to teach you. You know, what can you learn from this experience? Because it wasn't until I had those experiences that were at the other end of the spectrum, it wasn't until having those that I could actually shift and make the change to where I wanted to be. You know, it's like, you know what it's like at the bottom. It's dark. So therefore, when you come into the light, you can appreciate a light day because you've been in the dark. It's the same kind of thing. So yeah, I'd just say observe it as it is, keep doing it, and then see what it's going to teach you thereafter.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to see the possibilities and the potential beauty that can come from those low points, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
so difficult.
Yeah, it's so true. So much beauty can come of low points, you know? That immense appreciation and gratitude for life.
Oh, wow, yeah, totally.
Yeah, because when you're at the depths, say if you're depressed or you're partying hard, taking lots of drugs, it sucks.
Yeah.
It feels like crap,
Yeah,
man,
it does.
you know?
Yeah.
And then when you finally get out of that and you get on a path of good health and well-being and community, it's like, oh, this feels so good. It's sustainable. My energy is level as opposed to like, yeah, I'm high, but then I'm down here,
Yeah.
you know, I don't want to be depressed because of that.
Totally.
Yeah, you definitely, you know, these dark times are so common in life, and it's just seeing that they are part of life.
Yeah.
And knowing that they are allowing us to have a greater appreciation in life when we do get back on track, you know.
Yeah, so what I'd love to sort of bring it round to as we sort of come into the end of this conversation is you've mentioned a few times that that was my anger, not me. We are not our emotions, I am me. We are not our thoughts, that is like I am me, right? So this concept of we being separate from our mind, me being separate from our body. Talk about that for a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So,
I feel like the lack of identification with that has given me so much freedom.
yeah.
And I'm sure by the sounds of it as well, you yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like a lot of what my inability to be free was coming from was identifying myself with that anger.
Yes.
And that is not processing it. And it just gets stored as a blockage and makes you heavy. And you keep getting angry. It becomes a downward spiral if you don't see it and allow yourself to let it go. So, yeah, I'm just trying to think of the best way to approach this. So, what we are at our pure essence is, it's actually awareness. That's all we are at our essence, you know. Our physical body is just something that the awareness resides within. And pain is actually just an extension of the physical body. It's not an extension of the awareness. So in Vipassana, I was taught that if you can remain aware to the physical sensations that arise and remain equanimous, that is to not identify yourself with them, eventually that pain will disappear. And it will not have an impact on you being awareness. You know what I mean? So if you can remain aware, knowing that these sensations that I'm experiencing are only just of the body, or this anger that is coming up is only of the emotions, it's not me, eventually that will allow yourself to let it go and it will pass. Yeah, it's quite a hard one to wrap your head around. Like every time I have this conversation, I'm like, oh, how do you explain it, man? Because like, oh, what? I'm not my body. Like, look, I can do this.
Yeah, totally.
But if you think about it, if you sit in meditation and you just remain aware, and if, like, say a scratch comes up, just ignore it and but observe it and say, oh, I'm not itchy. It's just that is a scratch. Let's see how long until it passes, you know? Or that is a thought. It's an angry thought. An emotion. It's an angry emotion. Cool. I'm experiencing anger. Let's see how long it passes. Speaking like that. Like you're not angry. Yeah. And that helps you not identify with the emotion, with the sensation. Equanimity, man, like that's a big part of it, is just remaining neutral to whatever you are experiencing. Yeah,
big time. The way I've heard it explained in a couple of ways that I resonated with them both, actually. One was the fact that we cannot be what is changing, because at the end of the day, I is a constant. And if say I'm a water molecule inside of a river, I am moving with that river, therefore I cannot notice it moving. But if I stand on the side of the river, I can notice the flowing of the river. The only way I can notice that is if I'm separate from the river. So the only way I can notice a change within my system is if I'm separate from the change.
Yeah.
So when the thought comes up, I cannot be the thought because I'm seeing the change of the thought. When an emotion comes up, I cannot be the emotion because I'm observing the changing of the emotion. It's same with the body. Body's constantly rebuilding and deconstructing itself cellularly. We're replacing, I think, quite literally in the millions of cells every minute, which is insane. Like the reproduction of cells is just a constant as well. And the other thing as well is the concept of what I accumulate, I cannot be.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard Sadhguru speak on this a bit.
No,
So he
I
talks
haven't.
about, so if I was like, say, to pick up this bottle of water, I can say it's my bottle of water, great. But if I start saying this is my bottle of water, if I just start saying, sorry, this is me, you might think I'm just gone crazy. I'm saying, this is me, brother. This is me.
Definitely not you, bro.
We're not 10. Exactly. But
you look a lot prettier than that, brother.
Yeah, thank you, brother. It's too kind. So ultimately, this body is an accumulation, really. If I didn't constantly consume the food that I've eaten, which has turned that into flesh, I would have not been able to construct this body the way that it's been. So ultimately, I've accumulated this body over time. Therefore, I basically the same way as I accumulate. So if I pick up, I don't know why this came to mind. I haven't eaten in years, but a lamington. Bro, have you eaten a lamington in a while?
Not in a long time, but that would be a harder take for me, man.
I haven't done that in years.
Yeah,
I don't know why that came to mind.
Maybe we should get some unagi and lamingtons after this and say, it's okay, it's not me. I'm going to eat it, and I'm going to not identify with it. It's probably a great way to eat food.
That's it. Freedom, brother. Freedom. But say I got the lamington, and I what a lot of people are doing is they're like, okay, this is my lamington, and they eat it. They start saying this is me, but it's not. No, it's just become flesh. It doesn't mean that's you, right? So it's separate. Same with thoughts as well. I wasn't born with these thoughts. I didn't come out, 5'11". I didn't come out weighing 82 kilos. I came out as a little infant, but it accumulated over time. I came out as a combination, accumulation of certain thoughts and certain patterns, but nowhere near to the extent that I've gained now over the course of the impressions that I've gained throughout my life. So these are things that I've gained. Therefore, I cannot be what I have gained, what I've accumulated. So those explanations really clicked for me in that understanding. And I know for those listening as well, the closing the eyes and the coming to that place of centeredness and seeing what is changing, seeing what is moving really helps that concept of non-identification, right? That like feeling of spaciousness or separation. Yeah. Do you have any other tools outside of sort of, because that's a big one as well, right? Sitting with feelings, sitting with thoughts and not reacting to them builds that space. What other sort of practices would you share with people that would help with that non-identification?
Having trust in what your beliefs are and what your experiences are that you're having, kind of trusting that anything that is happening in life you have a say over to an extent, I guess just that trust of whatever comes up, it's up to you to decide on what it is for you, and often if it's outside of your awareness, it's not you. Yeah. But yeah, it's something I could definitely think about and come up with more. But mostly it's just that reminding yourself that the law of nature is everything that arises will pass, but the constant is the I, the awareness.
Yes, and I guess it's the consistency of coming back to that, right? That really helps strengthen that. Oh man, thank you so much for this, brother.
No, thank you.
Very, very beautiful conversation. I feel like it's very needed as well. I know you're very passionate about men's mental health, as I am. And what I'd love to ask is those that might be in the darkness, that might be in this in a space of struggle right now, what would you say to them?
Yeah, it's a good question, man. Often when you're in that place of darkness, you feel like you're the only one. Just remember that you're not. There's a lot of other people out there who are struggling in life. It's just not often spoken about. So one, find a friend that you can trust and you can talk about that situation with them, because when you talk about it, it's a way of releasing that from your body or your cluttered mind. Or come to Revive, go to one of the wellness festivals. There's no judgment there. And it's a great way for you to just show up as you are. And that alone in itself is really liberating, you know. And there's also like different workshops you can do that facilitate the release of emotion that does not belong, like breath work or meditation or physical exercise or like community building workshops, you know. That's why I've started Revive, man. It's because Sam and I have had our darkness in our lives, and we know our friends that have too, and we have a lot of friends who struggle still, and that's why I've started Revive. So just find someone that you can trust, or go somewhere in nature first to just process what you're feeling, and then join a gathering of non-judgmental people, whether it be a festival or a group of friends, or if you don't have any friends, all good. Just start going out to meet people. Go up to people who you feel like you may be able to trust, you know. Talk to the person next to you in the counter at the supermarket, or you know, go to a gym and talk to the instructor after and ask them what they get up to. You know,
about Jock, that's very scary.
Yeah, it is scary. It really is. No, you're so right. And you know, I think it's just you got to take that first step, you know, and there's going to be resistance, but you will thank yourself later when you took that first step, because on the other side, there's the potential for great relationships. There's the potential for you getting out of a potential dark space that you're in. There's potential for growth and getting on a path of good health and well-being. And that is often done with other people, or, you know, places of quiet, or with the trees. Go talk to the tree. They will not judge you, you know.
Yeah, nor the animals, right? Go talk to your dog.
Animals are great medicine, man. I love my dogs, you know. You get unconditional love from dogs, and just being around them is relaxing, and sometimes they can make you laugh. You know, laughter is a really great medicine as well for getting out of a hole. Put on a funny podcast, or go to laughter yoga. We have laughter yoga at the festival where you laugh with each other.
Who's the instructor for that? Because Nick's not here.
Nick's not here. Nah, it'll be someone else this year. We haven't got it, but we had it last year. But we'll find someone else for sure. But you know, at the start it's like not very organic, and then after that you were just in stitches. And that also is liberating. You know, just
massively.
Nothing like a good bit of belly laughter.
Totally.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother. Man, it's been such a blessing having you on. Thank you for coming and sharing your heart. Thank you for giving us the time of your day, and man, thank you for everything that you're doing for the community. It really is a blessing. So thank you for being you, bro.
Thanks, Keza. Appreciate it, bro. Thank you so much for having me on, and you know, I appreciate those that are listening in, and hopefully you guys have gotten something out of the podcast. And you know, if you ever want to touch base, and maybe you are experiencing a dark time, I'm here to talk as well. So feel free to touch base with me.
So where can they find you?
You can go through the Revive Festival NZ page on Instagram, or you can come to my personal one, which is Yoga Send, YOGASCEND.
Yeah, like send it.
Yoga Send it large. So there's still my fight in there. Right? I was like, I'm not going to enter this glorified stretch routine without having that fight still, you know. But feel free to touch base with me. You know, I'm always here to corridor, and if there's anything I can do, I'm here to help. But come join us at Revive. Tickets are on sale at the moment. Early birds finish July 31st, so grab a ticket. revivefestival.co.nz. It's a beautiful experience. I cannot begin to describe without going on an hour-long rant. But it'd be nice to have you join. You're not going to be here, eh, brother?
I really wanted to.
But hey, future years, mate.
Absolutely, 100%, brother. I'm going to be there in future years, and guys, I cannot recommend enough to go along to the Thrive Festival. Jock has such a fantastic way of creating community and creating space and creating a great vibe and energy around with people around him and just around him in general. And I know that accumulation of fantastic people around him and the energy that he provides is just going to create such a fantastic space for those that are in need of community, are in need of being heard, of being seen, and are actually craving some form of transformation or renewal, or even just in a space where they just want to deepen their spiritual journey, or let alone even at the very start of theirs. These festivals are some of the best ways to start to enter that change in life. So highly recommend Revive. I get confused
Thrive
with
as well.
But definitely Thrive. I get confused when I say it, because like our organization, our non-profit is called Thrive.
Cool.
So
Similar thing.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much the same thing. And So highly recommend it, guys. The details for Jock's and Revive's Instagram will be in the description below, as well as the website. Yep, cool. Yeah, so you guys will be able to go there, check it out, read up about it, and also get your ticket for the 6th of January, guys. Yep, which is very exciting. So highly recommend. Any final words, Bob?
For those of you that are watching, thank you for tuning in. Just want to say, if you are wanting to promote growth in your life, it just starts with that first step. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. Once you get the momentum and flow, it just all starts unfolding after that, So off the couch, out the door, breathing the fresh air and embrace. Would love to see all you guys grow well. And just, it's a journey. It's up and down. It's left, right, and center, but that's what it's all about.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks, Kiza. Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Guys, we don't do any paid advertising. We don't run ads, nothing. Okay, so it's all completely free, and there is a fee. The fee is that if you got anything from this, if you laughed, if you cried, right, if you burped, if you sneezed, if anything that you felt was valuable, I don't know if a burp or the sneeze was valuable, but hey, but if you found it valuable in any sense, then please do share it. That enables us to reach others that do. Many do. I know for myself, when I was younger, I would this sort of conversation would have been quite transformational for me and quite life changing. So it does enable us to reach people like my old self and like those that maybe even like yourself who might even be in that sort of space, needing to hear conversations like this. So also as well as it helps us to reach more potential fantastic guests, so we can bring on some other fantastic guests as well, just like good old Jock over here. And so if you guys have any ideas of guests as well, please shoot them our way. You can find us on The Pocket Coach on Instagram, or Coach Kiza. Again, all that stuff is in the details below in the show notes. Other than that, guys, I love you so much. This show cannot go on without you, so thank you. It really means the world that you guys tune into this, and I wish you all the best. I'll catch you guys later. Till next time.